Brian, okay. What's that? Oh, gallery's still for really side there. Chantal, did you sign it? Mary, did you sign? Can we have your packet?
Yes. Sorry.
Recording.
I'm ready when you are. Just let me know when I'm starting.
Okay, we're gonna start now the meeting. Eric, please, we're gonna start our board meeting for Tuesday, May 14th, 2024, and the time is 3 o'clock. Diane, would you do a call to order, please?
Yes, ma'am. Chantal Fossey, here. Lindsay Hostler,
Here.
Benny McGoldrick.
Here.
Bernie.
Bernie.
Bernie, I'm so sorry, Bernie. Mary Mellon,
Here.
Summer Thomas.
Here.
Ian Whitney.
Here.
Thank you all present.
All right, we're going to look at item number 3 for the board meeting agenda for May 14th, 2024. Right now, I would like to move one thing on the agenda before we take action. I would like to move the closed session, item number 22, and I would like to move that up to right below number 3 to make that.
Number 6.
I'm sorry, number 6. No, number 6, I apologize, number 6. And then also like to change the info, change the action on item 18 and move that from action to information. Is everybody in agreement with that? So again, just to repeat again, we're going to move the closed session, item number 22, to move it to right underneath written communications from under item number 6. And then changing the action item on number 18 to information. Do I hear someone?
Oh, this is okay, so good.
Thank you. And I don't have to take, we have to take roll call, and we do have to take, okay. And then
Ian would be second.
Thank you. And go ahead, Diane, can we have your roll call, please?
Chantal. Lindsay.
Hi.
Bernie.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Summer.
Aye.
Ian.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go to item number 4, and we're going to do the minutes for March 12th, 2024, April 1st, 2024, April 2024, and April 17th, 2024.
I move to approve all said minutes.
Thank you.
This is Lindsay, I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, Diane?
Chantal.
Aye.
Lindsay.
Hi.
Bernie.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Summer.
Aye.
Ian.
Aye.
Now moving to item number 5, is there any persons wishing to address the board? Or Jody or
Not that I'm aware of.
anybody in written communications, if any? No? Okay. Okay, now we will be going into closed session for the public employee personnel complaint discussion. And then we need to, at 3:03.
Yep, I'm doing that right now. Okay. If you recall, Bernie, you're gonna get an invite on the screen. You have to go into the closed session. When I send it to you.
Okay.
Okay, we're back on.
Hey, Eric, I'm Shepherd, I had it open. You're gonna do it. Setting the board out.
Right.
So we are back, just so you know.
It went away, I got it. That's it.
Okay. I think we need to do roll call.
No,
Okay. We're just coming from for the closed session. There was no action in the closed session, so nothing to report.
Give it time.
It is, all right, thank you, 3:21. Moving on to,
And I'm so sorry. Did you say there's nothing to report?
correct. Moving on to action, item number seven for action, warrant reports, 3/5/24 to 5/5/24. I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the warrant reports for 3/5/24 through 5/5/24.
Thank you, Bernie. Is there a second? This is Chantal, second. Thank you, Chantal. Roll call?
Chantel? Lindsay? Bernie?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
Summer?
Aye.
Ian?
Aye.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 8, public hearing, the 2023-2024 LCAPs for Mountain Home School, Glacier High School, and Endeavor. Grace?
So public hearing, I think we need to note the time. So beginning at
3:22.
Sorry, working on sharing my screen.
Typically able to do that.
All right, 2023-2024 LCAP annual update. So just as a reminder, we talked about it earlier this year, but LCAP is the local control and accountability plan. We're in, which is a 3-year cycle of goal setting, action plan to meet these goals, and leveraging available resources using data as indicators to track the progress towards meeting these goals. So we earlier at a previous board meeting, we had the mid-year review, and so now we're looking at the annual review of the 2023-2024 LCAP report.
and I'm sorry to
Yep.
interrupt, Grace, can I just say, this was, one of the documents we did not print out, it's 3 different LCAPs, it's very long. When I sent out the board packet, I did email everybody the full PDF, but it's not in your physical board packet, just because it was a whole lot of paper.
Read children.
Lots of it.
All right, so where we've been concluding this last 3-year cycle and setting up for the next, assessing the current goals, determining if adjustments need to be made, making those adjustments, and then adding in the mandatory indicators as well as our local indicators. All right, so for goal 1, which as a reminder is that all students will be provided high quality guidance and instruction with a broad and diverse curriculum, necessary educational technology supports, and professional staff that will prepare them for success in college and the workplace. And so some of the measurable indicators for goal 1 include the implementation of the state standards as measured by growth on our benchmarks and WBA scores. And we look at fall of 2022 to fall of 2023. Student achievement as measured by CAPS participation and scores for the 2021-2022 and 22-23 school year. Educational materials as reported in the 2024 student and parent surveys. And then the college and career indicators as reported on the California dashboard. So we did see these were already released at our mid-year. But this is just showing our NWA scores in reading on the left, math on the right, for each of the schools for the 2022-2020 fall 2022-23 and fall 23-24. And then the state priority that this meets is the implementation of the standards. So we did see, so for example, if we look at Mountain Home for 23, you see slight drops. Math stayed steady, and similarly for Glacier and Endeavor. Another of the, clicking too much. Pupil achievement is the participation rate and scores for CASP in ELA and math. So our participation rate were very high for Mountain Home, and then you can see the net or exceeded standard in 21-22 was 37. This year was 44%, and then for math, 20% met or exceeded standards, and 37 for last school year.
Still a good increase.
Really good increase. And then for Glacier, so we're looking at the same thing but for Glacier. So ELA participation was 100%, math participation was 100% in 2021-22, 95%, which probably is one student looking at the size of the school. And then ELA met or exceeded standards went up from 68% to 79%, and math dipped a little bit. That's for Endeavor, again, high participation rates with ELA and math, and then our math met or exceeded standards went from 41 up to 45%, and math dipped a little bit as well. Another one of the measurable indicators is educational materials, and this is measured by our survey. And this is priority 7 of the state priorities. And this is showing actually the baseline year, which is the 2020-21 school year, all the way through currently this last March. So for Mountain Home School. And kind of abbreviated version of the survey questions that pertain to this. So advising teachers discuss student progress with their students and parents. And so there's notable increase from 82% on our baseline up to 92%. Provides needed materials, again, 84 over the course of our 3-year cycle up to 97%, and supported educational technology needs 87 up to 90%. For Glacier, Glacier already started really high, so in the advising teacher discussion and student progress, just maintained high levels there. Good growth in the area of providing needed materials and educational technology supports. And then for Endeavor, it is broken down, sorry, this is a lot to look at, but the TK through 8 versus the high school responses to these questions. So again, the TK through 8 is starting really high with that advising teacher discussion, but up to 100% this last school year. And then good growth in the high school program from 75 over the course of 3 years up to 92%. Providing materials, again, the TK through 8 is just high across the 3-year cycle. But in the high school program, we're improving from 64% to 92%. And then educational technologies, again, high across the board for TK through 8, and then 64 up to 92% in high school. College and career indicators, so this will apply to Glacier and Endeavor. The college and career indicators, so college career ready, that are prepared, and this actually doesn't show our nearly results in there, but for Glacier, in the 2020-21 school year, We had 43.3% of students, college and career, meeting that prepared on the college and career indicator. And this last year, 45.5. Our UC, which like huge improvement on our UC CSU admissions ready, so meeting the A to G requirements, 2020, 21. And then no data, sorry, going back to that other line, it was just, that was a COVID year, and so that was not reported. And then the, CTE, so students completing the CTE pathway at Glacier, we had 5% in the first year, 9.1% last year. And then those same students were also UC ready, that's why those numbers match up there. And then students report that the school provides knowledge of, so that's from the survey results. College and career planning increased from 71 to 90% this last year. Endeavors looks a little bit wonky because of the establishment date of Endeavor. So that's why big chunks are missing there. But one we can look at is that bottom one showing that students reporting that the school providing the knowledge for college and career planning went from 57 up to 92%. All right, goal 2, all students will be provided a safe, clean, secure, and healthy school with opportunities for student engagement within a positive school climate. So 2 of the measurable indicators for that are in the areas of attendance, graduation rates, and dropout rates, and then school facilities and safety. So for Mountain Home, this is just showing their average daily attendance over this cycle. And then their chronic absenteeism, so that's an indicator specifically for TK through 8, is very, very low, 0% last year, and no dropouts. Lakeshore, so some slight different data points here, but the ABA over the last 3 years of the 3 years of the cycle, dropout rate staying low over the course of the 3 years. And then graduation rate high.
Does the dropout rate mean they went to a different high school or they left our school and did not go to a different high school?
Likely they left our school and didn't enroll.
They left school.
They left and didn't show up anywhere else.
Yeah.
That
So they,
it would record. Every kid has a number
Yeah.
They didn't show up anywhere in California.
in California. Every kid has a number in California, and that number, when they enroll somewhere, is gonna pop up on the state system. And if that doesn't happen, so they could have gone to homeschooling and the parents didn't.
Traditional.
Right, parents didn't, yeah, so there's a variety of places where the information just goes dark. But as far as the state's concerned, we don't know what happened with that kid, that's a problem.
So Endeavor, again, our data is kind of wonky because of the year of our establishment, but Endeavor includes the indicators for the high school and the elementary, so that's why there's a little more information here. And the attendance in our LCAP, there was an attendance rate instead of the ADA for Endeavor, so that's why it looks a little bit different there, but low chronic absenteeism. And again, that dropout rate is likely a student who didn't enroll somewhere else, high graduation rate, and no suspension expulsion. Across the board, at all schools, students and parents report very high rates of feeling safe on campus, and this is priority, it's covered by the whole Zoom thing there, but priority 1, basic services. And across all schools, students and parents report that facilities are clean and well maintained. So high levels meaning like 95% plus. And then goal 3, school will provide opportunities for our educational partners, parents, students, staff, community members, and organizations to participate in various aspects of the educational environment to support and enhance student success. Measurable outcomes for goal 3. Parents' needs as reported on the survey, and parent connectedness as reported on the survey. And again, across the board at all schools, parents report that the school supports the needs of the parents, guardians, And again, across all the schools, parents report feeling welcomed, valued, and connected in our school community. In summary, all of our goals, so the 3 big goals there, are met with almost all of the indicators. So there's been some data tracking points that are difficult due to COVID and then the establishment of Endeavor. 2 areas we can kind of look at that actions were not fully met. So not necessarily the goals, but the actions. Pieces of that are the NWA scores were not as high as expected, but then our CAS scores had really good growth. And then some of our surveys are baseline. We some of the goals set were like 15% increase, but our baselines were actually too high to grow 15%. So, you know, we can't have a 100% of those areas. So that's another area where I guess, yeah, hard to measure since there was not enough good growth into that 15%. Any questions?
Did a great job. Thank you.
Grace has put a lot of work into this. She's taken the lead. There's been a variety of us as staff who've been working with Grace on this throughout the year. That's how it is every year. The LCAP is an ongoing, you always have your hands in it, iterative process. And so it involves a lot of us, but Grace, new to her this year, took the lead on this, and that's a thing for real that she's taken on, and she's done just a great job. So thank you, Grace, for taking the lead on that.
Yes. Please, no one had any questions in regards to what we just heard? Hearing none, I would like to be closing the public hearing, and the time is 3:37. Okay, moving on to item number 9, information, current budget update and presentation of preliminary budgets 2024-2025.
Okay, I am going to share the screen here.
And just a reminder, for Bernie to hear us really well, it's helpful if you speak really loud.
Project.
Yes.
We'll try. Okay, I'm gonna go through this sort of quickly, the year-to-date so far, as of April 30th. And I'll move up and down on the screen if you like, but just let me know if you need me to. I'm just gonna give you a quick overview. For Mountain Homeschool, revenue is coming in $135,000 higher than the original budget, with expenses coming in $18,000 less. Meaning the net revenues over expenses is coming in at $335,000, which is $152,000 higher than we originally projected, which is good news. The result of all that is basically it's a combination of adding staff in Oakhurst while also not utilizing as much of our adjunct teaching as originally projected. So it ended up sort of netting in our initial projection versus what it is now. And like I said, we added a few staff there as well. And then we also are not building, well, we are building the Oakhurst bathrooms, but it's not going to be in this year. It'll probably end up charging us in July or August. So that'll be in next year, so we move that out. So that was quite a bit of money there. And so the office space will be also looked at next year. That's in the next budget that we'll go over in a minute. But that's Mountain Homes summary. I'll show you that at the bottom here. Those are all the numbers that I was just explaining. Like I say, if you have any other questions, we can just get to that at the end. For Glacier High School, revenues coming to $39,000 lower than the original budget, with expenses coming in at $27,000 higher. That means the net revenues over expenses coming in $65,000 higher. I'm sorry, less than originally projected. This is a result of adding staffing in Oakhurst because those are shared between the two schools. So whenever we add staff, they end up being split 71-29% between the two schools, and also the delay in the Oakhurst bathrooms, and that also affects Glacier because those two schools split that cost. So the one thing about Glacier we always have to remember is they are a much smaller operation. they go between 80 and 100 kids per year. And at 80, it's pretty close to the break-even point. And right now, next year, we're looking at 78, so we're really close. That's okay, it's got a huge reserve, and it's operating fine. And the demographics up in the mountains are a little different, they're much more stable. But one little move here or there makes a difference. But Endeavor is still projected next year to come in with a net positive, and this year as well. So it's just a very tight situation with Glacier. Like I say, a couple years ago during COVID, it was about 100 students, and now it's hovering between, I'm using 78, I think that's low. I think Eric and I thought it should be more like 80-ish, above 80, but I'm just using a conservative number for next year. But our ADA this year is actually, that's, sorry, let me go back to my numbers to show you. There, well, here's Glacier to start with. The current enrollment is 79, the P2 88 is 78.45. So, like I say, that's right around break even. But back up at Mountain Homeschool, current enrollment is 217, the 88 is 211.53. And that's pretty good. If you can keep it above 200 for Mountain Home, that's good. That's a good budget for them, a good amount of ADA. I think next year it might be a little bit higher, but for the next year's budget, we're projecting using the P2 numbers that just were as of March 22nd. So that's what we're funded on going into next year. So that's what we're doing. Now going down to Endeavor, we have current enrollment in Endeavor of 338. As the P2 was 335.58. So interestingly, the current enrollment, they're pretty maxed out here because of facilities. They could easily grow if it weren't for the facilities. We've talked about this multiple times. And so at 338, that's about the highest number I can imagine fitting in. And it's a good number, works out well. So this sheet. So Endeavor's revenue is coming in $107,000 higher than the original budget, and expenses are coming in $345,000 higher, meaning that net revenues over expenses coming in $386,000, which is $238,000 lower than we originally thought. This is mostly the result of adding staffing. There's a couple of additions in Endeavor this year that were not in the original budget, and we've been moving this as we went all year long. I'm just giving you from the beginning of the year till now. And then, but also this year we are moving $200,000 in expenses into the current year. And that's the other reasons there's a lot more expenses, because as you know, the funding determination requires us to stay between a certain set of expenses. So we can't spend too much, we can't spend a little. So this year, we are spending more toward the end, just to make sure that we keep in those projections. And so next year we won't. It's definitely what we expected next year. It's not more than we would have spent over 2 years. It's just moved 1 year closer than we thought initially. That's it for the year to date. I do want to give an update real quick here between the other is that the funding determinations for both approved by the State Board of Education, as we discussed before. It's always scary that if you don't hit all your targets, you might lose a bunch of money, 15% of your funding. But the only reason we didn't hit all of our targets was because they gave us a bunch of money right at the end last year that we couldn't possibly spend, and they were reasonable and saw that was true. And they got it. So yeah, good for us. That happened. So we get to breathe better and move on, even though we thought it was very likely we'd get approved. You're never 100% you're done. So that happened just last Wednesday. So I was at that meeting and we got approved. So that's good. Now I'm going to move into the projected budget for next. Any questions? Okay. Projected budget for next year. I put all 3 schools on one sheet here to try to make it easy. And I want to look at the ADA projections for, except you have the right hand column section there. It says Mount Home 211.53, Glacier 78.45, and Endeavor 335.38. Those are P2 numbers that just happened. the governor's May revise is coming up like today or tomorrow. So he did it, we wait preliminary May revise on Friday. And so from what we gather from that, let's see, it looks like, let me find my sheet here where I explain, okay. The budget shortfall per the governor, and the governor has a different budget shortfall than the legislative analyst office. Governor more positive and more, less conservative. The LAO has about $76 billion loss. They haven't come up with their new one yet. The governor says it's around $30 billion loss, and net deficit next year. So the governor has a lot less cuts in his, and so far he said that he's going to try to spare schools any cuts.
Thank you.
No increase in that. So he also wants to fully fund the COLA, which was shown as a very small 0.76. Now we're saying it's 1.07, still, about the same number, 1% COLA, but he says it's going to fully fund that. We'll see, obviously the governor has his budget, the legislation has come through with the budget trailer, and that also be negotiated. So there's nothing saying that this is going to be where it ends up, but at least considering all the doom and gloom we've been hearing, it's pretty positive. It does appear that most of the hits to public education, if they in fact happen, from what we can glean from what he said, is they're in areas that charter schools don't normally get. They're normally given to non-charter schools. So the non-charter schools will get a lot of other funding that charter schools don't get, but those are where the cuts are probably going to happen. So in this case,
Tax us less.
it's hitting us less in this case, so that's nice. Let's see, total education spending according to the governor's budget is going to increase slightly. So I'm not really sure how that's going to work with a big deficit, but that's what it says in general. And yeah, that's what he came up with. So I thought that was interesting. We'll see. So he's definitely feeling like there's less of a negative than the LAO said. So I want to show something here. Okay, so I'm sorry. Let's go. Let's look at the preliminary budget, and then I'll go to the other. Sorry, too, because they're also interconnected. It's hard to tell you one thing and then not show you the other at the same time. So, looking at the screen here, the three schools going across, that's based on this 0.76 COLA and the ADA that our utility projections are, so that no growth next year, exactly what we did this year. So pretty conservative. All the schools are coming in at those dollar amounts are on the screen, okay? If we go to the bottom of the screen, and you look at the very bottom where it says net revenue adjusted for extraordinary items, that number is the number of normal ongoing expenditures, not including the capital projects moving up in Oakhurst. So that gives you a normal operating budget. So they all come in pretty well. Mountain Home's coming in with a net revenues over expenditures of $331,000. Glacier at $30,000. As I said, it's always a little tight there. And then Endeavor coming in at $326,000. So on the net positive side. This is including what we had mentioned last time. We're bringing a proposal to increase the salary schedule, and that's what I want to discuss in this little chart that I'm showing you. Okay, I'm gonna have to walk up to the circle to try to give you an idea of what it is. So these are the pay schedule increases. This goes from 2019 to 2024, 6 years historical information, okay, including next year projected. Okay, so 5 historical and then 1 year next year, the budget we're working on. And then the schedule of the 5% increase is already in the budget, and it's the schedules here that we're going to look at in a few minutes. If you take the last 3 years, 2 of those years, we did 5% increases each year. So we did to 23, 24, and 22, 23, you did a 5% increase. And now you're saying you're coming back with another one, huh? So we're always behind, where we don't lead, we're in arrears on this, right? So if you look at this, this is just saying over the last 6-year period, the pay schedule increase was 15%. From the baseline it was before, now 3 times we've asked for 5%. If you look at the pay schedule plus the average step increase, it comes out at 29-ish, but say it's 30 just to give round numbers here. That's what it costs us, the three schools, to pay for the schedule increases plus the normal 3% that happens with step increases over a 6-year period. So it's roughly double what the, because we have expenses that happen every year. We gotta spend money on what the normal pay increases are because everybody goes like up a step each year, even though the schedule remained the same, perhaps, they went up a step. So the average person who is going to get, say, a 3% increase and then a 5% step growth would get 8% in that year. But in a normal year where that didn't happen, they just get 3. So what I'm trying to show here is this is it with just the schedule being, here's a baseline, and then you move it up, the whole thing up 5%. And then the next year we did 5%. Now we're doing that again. So it gets to 15%. But there were real other expenditures happening in the step increases that were happening, and that came out to about 30. So that's what we're paying for, because we have to pay the normal increases that were happening. This number here, the COLAs that have happened from LCFF increases over the last 6 years, cumulatively, just like these are all cumulative numbers, came out to 30.9%. So the COLAs each year for the last 6 years, including the 1.07 for next year, is 30.9%. That's like virtually the same number, right? The inflation rate over the last 6 years is 23.7%. So 6 years ago, things were 23.7% cheaper than they are today. So interestingly, you look at, I'm sorry, I just touched the screen. Interestingly, you see that if you look at the average costs over, if someone got 30% over the last 6 years, the inflation went up 23.7%. So over a 6-year period, they had 6.3%.
They're 7% better off than they were 6 years ago.
Over a 6-year period, yeah, cumulatively. Interesting. So I just wanted to give you that background to say, because I was looking at this trying to see what makes sense. Because we also compete with other school districts, Clovis, Fresno, Madera, and they all have bigger increases than we have. That's just a fact. And so we just can't compete with that, but we do have to look at our actual expenses and then increase this up. So if we do increase it by the 15%, we come in at 30% on the average person, and the COLAs were 30.9 over that period, which means we're keeping up with the COLAs, but still the average person only made 6.3% over the 6-year period above where they would have been 6 years ago.
Right.
We're all in that same boat. We can all tell that we go to the market and everything's twice as much as it used to be. So that's a real thing. But that's the reason we're asking to go to that schedule increase, because we think we need to in order to catch up and stay competitive. So I thought that was sort of a simple chart to try to give you an idea. And I think that's it. I just, we'll get to the schedule increases in a minute, but since this stuff is already in the budget, just want to make sure that was understood as to why it's already in there. And we're moving forward with that idea. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to move to item number 10. Salary schedules for 2024, 2025.
Okay, that's me again. Can I touch this? Are you make it normal? How do I do this? Do I just go?
Sorry.
I touched it and it got over here. Yeah, it got, yeah. I like it. There you, thank you. See, you're so good. All right, so here is the certificated teacher salary schedule. This one is for the current one on the left. New one proposed for the right, just a 5% increase, pretty straightforward. Just took those numbers, added 5% to get to this number. There's also, as you recall, last year we did a bunch of interesting things with the salary schedule just to make us more competitive in good ways that were pinpointed. The teachers have some interesting things, like they get stipends for master's degrees, doctorate. They also get a longevity stipend. And so that was all added last year. That's already on here. The longevity and the other didn't change. It's staying the same number. So the absolute dollar number has not changed. We didn't increase those 5%, just the base increase went up 5%. For the classified salary schedule, it went basically up 5%. There were some interesting little things in here that we needed to fix. There was some out of alignment, but the general idea here is that it went up 5% over last year. Okay, I think I can touch this and go to the next one. No, maybe. Gonna let me do it here? No. Okay. Not a teacher. Don't use words very much. Okay, what is it for this? Is this one? That part.
Use it, but no, like, I might have to use it because you have to do this.
Okay, so yeah, I made it a little bigger on the screen. Hopefully you can see that. There's a 23-24 schedule and the 24-25. It also increased just basically, it's a little different looking than before, but it's very similar. We just wanted to make it a little more user-friendly in the sense that as we grow our positions, they'll go into columns that make a little more sense going across, but basically they all went up 5%. And if there's any questions, now we just have a different format where you can see the job classifications on the bottom that apply to that schedule, because we might end up adding positions over time, and we just thought that was a better view of it all. We also are changing to an IT director position, which has been added. That's its own column. That's one column that has been inserted in the middle of this. And so that is a new position, just because we think it's necessary within the IT department to have somebody who's overseeing that. And then the next, unless there's any questions here, the next one is the management. This went up 5% across the board. There's 8 steps. And we just took each step and grew it. So step 1 to 8. And that's it for now, unless there's a question. Does anyone have any particular questions on? Obviously, the vast majority of our expenditures are in the teacher schedule. And that's a big deal to make sure that not only are we keeping that market-wise as high as possible to compete, but just that the structure and everything is also as similar to other districts that are in our market, so we can compete with them. So that's why it's in the format that it is. That's the general concept of it. Any questions?
Thank you, Jody, for everything. And that's a lot of work.
Sure. Thank you.
And we are going to take action on this. So let's, do I have a person to entertain the first? I'm making a motion to approve the salary schedules for 2024, 2025.
So moved, yeah, Whitney.
Second?
This is Lindsay, I'll second.
Thank you, Lindsay. Roll call, Dan?
Chantel. Aye. Lindsay.
Aye.
Bernie.
Aye.
Terry.
Aye.
Summer.
Aye.
Ian.
Aye.
Moving on to item 11, employee pay and contracts for 2024, 2025.
Jody,
Okay. You'll have this in your packet. Okay, so this is a summary of all the contracts that are currently being prepared for the employees. And what we do here is trying to make it comprehensible, one big sheet of paper. This balances to the preliminary budget we just saw. These figures for the total salaries and total benefits are the same as they are in the preliminary budget. We don't expect that to change. That's already gone through all the process. By the time I give you the next budget, the one that's the final budget, there may be some changes in the other stuff. Mostly, I don't see any reason to change the personnel budget because we've already pretty much, we need to get that done now so we can do the contracts. So for Mountain Homeschool, it just has FTE, advising FTE, so there's 9 total, and it has those teachers that are on that list. We have a new teacher coming as well. There's the adjunct FTE is 0.4. We have classified teachers, so the adjunct FTE, there's only 0.2 on that. Certificate administrative staff, it shows the the FTE. And so that gives all the different people that are certificated that are shared amongst, that are on Mountain Home, but are also mostly shared amongst the 3 schools. Because these are the top administrative staff that Denver uses, Mountain Home uses, Glacier uses. So that's why you see all those partial FTEs, and that shows their allocation splits. So it's a little bit complicated, I realize, but that's why I'm trying to simplify it here to some extent if possible. At the end of all that, then there's a classified administrative staff that are also. So the total salaries, 1,307,463, total benefits 497,572. These are total salaries from Mount Home are 1,085,435, with a total FTE of 15.68 people, full-time employees. So for Glacier High School, smaller operation obviously, but advising teacher FTE 3.8, adjunct FTE 1.1. Then you have the certificate administrative staff. You can see those listed out there, 1.41 in total. Classified teachers 0.1. Then we have the classified administrative staff, a lot of the same people you saw on the other one, because those are shared employees, not only the ones that are in Oakhurst, shared between the 2 schools, but they also include personnel that are shared among all 3 schools. And there's a different allocation for people who are in Oakhurst, they're only split between the 2 schools in Oakhurst. Then there's people like me who does things for all 3 schools, and so I have an allocation that goes across all 3 schools. Makes sense. And then so their total salary is $642,235, benefits $266,045. The total 908,280, and the FTE is 8.1. So here's Endeavor. You see all the advising FTEs for the teachers up there, 16 total there. We do have 1 new teacher coming in there. For the adjunct FTE, that's a little bit in flux, so I'm just showing that the way it is. 2 news, certificated administrative staff. You've already seen most of those guys on the other list. Classified teachers there, classified administrative staff, and then we do have a second receptionist who's being hired for Endeavor as well. So that's a standalone, that whole person wants to evaluate for working in for Endeavor. So that means the total salaries for Endeavor, $2,252,285, benefits $959,962. And the total $3,212,247. The FTE for Endeavor is 30.54. So I think it's interesting to see 30.54, 8.1, and then 15.68 to get a relative idea of the size of the schools and budgets. And they're a little different, Mount Home is K8, Glacier is high school, and then Endeavor does full K-12, or TK-12. So, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take action on the employee pay and contracts for 2024. I will entertain a motion. Mrs. Chantal, motion. Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Mary, a second.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Sam.
Chantal. Lindsay.
Aye.
Vernon.
Aye.
Barry.
Aye.
Summer. Aye. Ian.
Aye.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 12, executive director contract for 2024-2025.
I will start with that. Couple things to point out. One is it is required that the board consider the executive director's salary and compensation individually, and so it's on as an individual item for you. Also, this is the first time that the executive director has ever had a contract. Well, I've always worked without a contract as an at-will employee, and I heard it was the board's recommendation over the last couple of years that the executive director have a contract. So here it is. And it's largely the same contract as everybody else has. I asked our HR person to draw it up. I don't know if there's any comments you have, Holly, on this contract compared to anything else, but
No, there's just like, language changes where Mike would typically approve something and it says the board instead of the executive director. That's essentially the only change. Everything else is the same.
I sign all of the contracts for the employees as representing the school. In this case, it will be Summer signing for this. It's a 220-day contract with the salary and then basically all of the same other language that's in the other contracts. Yeah.
And you interject, it's already on the salary schedule, it's on there. Also, we do a salary comparison and market analysis to make sure that all of our salaries are within line. So just, we're required to do that, of course, we do that even if we weren't required to do that. So, that we do.
The comparative analysis,
Yes.
salary, yeah, for compensation, right, thank you.
Oh, so what you're saying is that the amount of, the salary amount is actually for the one that we,
It's on the schedule.
It's on the
that you
schedule.
just approved.
this,
And that the executive director's compensation is put to an analysis comparability of like job in the region.
Right. Any questions?
Okay, now, you dropped it, right? Has, when we run this by, we to make sure we're all,
Not,
is that something that's, you know?
it's like, I haven't ran it by Haley. I didn't think to run it by Haley. I think that if it's the similar contracts that all the other, staff are also, having.
Just so you know, the contract format that we use came from Young Canadian Corps,
Okay.
and this is basically their format.
But there's something in here that's really substantially different from the way we've been doing things just without contracts.
Nothing here other than it's just specifying on the contract days, expected days.
Yeah.
And compensation, right?
So just formalizing what kind of happens.
Basically, right, yes.
Thank you, Polly, for doing that, and Mr. Cox also as well. I know that takes a lot of time and effort, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are going to vote on the executive director contract. Is there any questions or anything on that first before I? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the executive director contract for 2024, 2025.
This is Chantal.
Thank you, Chantel. Is there a second?
This is Mary, a second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Chantel,
Aye.
Lindsay,
Aye.
Bernie,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Summer,
Hi.
Ian.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to action, number 13, item number 13, sorry. Approval of WSCS safety plan for 2024. This is something that we actually had in last agenda as well. Okay.
So, yes, so, you have in your board packet a summary of what's in that very large document. You may recall from the last meeting that Nick Tettleton came in and presented, he was the lead on updating our safety plan. And so he presented it as an info item on our last meeting, and so we're bringing it to the board for formal approval. If we need Nick to step in to explain anything in the safety plan, he's at hand, we can bring him in. Otherwise, here's the, just the highlights of what's in the plan.
Is there any questions in regards to the safety plan? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the WSCS safety plan for 2024-2025.
So moved, Ian Whitney.
Ian, is there a second?
Positions.
Thank you. Roll call, Diane, please.
Chantel.
Aye.
Lindsay.
Aye.
Bernie.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Summer.
Aye.
Ian.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to item number 14, approval for annual declaration of need for fully qualified educators for Mount Homeschool, Glacier High School, and Endeavor.
Thank you. So, in your packet, this has become, an annualized requirement for us, to submit to the California Teacher Credentialing Commission, this documentation. And so what we're actually doing here is, in the event that we have to hire a credentialed, staff member, a teacher, credentialed teacher for a particular area, say it's a high school, maybe we need a high school drama credential, but we don't have anybody who's a high school drama credential, and we can't find anybody who's a high school drama credential to be a 0.2 FTE. In order for us to get any kind of state waiver, we have to have already submitted on this form, this declaration of need, that there might be the possibility that we would need to hire somebody and not be able to find the right credential. Because the state does require for secondary education that every class is taught with the appropriate credential. That is actually a new requirement for charter schools. And so for the most part, it's pretty easy. All of our main core subjects, that's the people we hire. But every once in a while, it may be like, it'll show up in something like, again, like I said, maybe a drama class or a music class where we don't have the right credential and we have to apply for a waiver from the credentialing folks. What this does is you have to, and they won't give you the waiver unless you've already submitted board approved your declaration of need, that there might be a chance we might need somebody who doesn't have the right credential. So what you have in front of you is 3 declaration of needs, one for Mountain Home, one for Glacier, and one for Endeavor. The Mountain Home declaration of need, just basically, since all you need is multiple subject in a K-8 school, Mountain Homes are only K-8 only school. So we just said, well, there may be a chance we need two people who don't have the right multiple subject credential. Not likely, but you have to file it. So there's that. For Glacier, we said, well, golly, maybe if you look on page 3 of Glacier's, we said, well, maybe an art credential, math credential, music credential, biology, you don't know, right? Again, not likely, but you know, you got to say the possibilities in advance. So we checked off 10 different possible credentials that we may need to hire for in Glacier and not have the right credential for, have to get the waiver. And then the same thing for Endeavor, because Endeavor, again, is a K-12, has the high school component, again, so the single subject credentials are necessary. So for Endeavor, we said, oh, well, maybe we'll need all of these different waivers too. So that's what's in front of you. It's a little bit of an exercise of, well, silliness, but it's what the CTC requires now. That's what you have in front of you. I'm asking for your approval so that we can submit this. It does have to have board approval.
Any questions? Okay, hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the annual declaration of need for fully qualified educators for Mountain Homeschool, Glacier High School, and Endeavor Charter School. Is there a first?
This is Lindsay, I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Lindsay. Is there a second?
This is Chantel.
Thank you, Chantel. Roll call, Diane, please.
Chantel. Lindsay.
Aye.
Bernie.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Summer.
Aye.
Ian.
Aye.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 15, approval for a freeze and construction contract for building additional bathrooms.
So you have a proposal in the packet there in front of you for Friesen Construction to perform the work in building the 5 additional restrooms in Oakhurst at Mountain Home School and Glacier High School. We are targeting to be able to begin construction as soon as school is done with students. So God willing, we will open with restrooms, additional restrooms when we return in August, and there will be much rejoicing. This is a proposal from Friesen Construction. Friesen Construction has done a variety of larger improvement projects over the years for us, and so has been working with us to prep this. You can see the amount there is coming in estimated at $145,000. That is below, for your edification and knowledge, that is below the $150,000 limit that we have as an organization to say that if there's a project that is over 150, we will go to a bidding process and put it out to public bid and multiple bids. This came in under that 150 mark, and so I'm proposing to you, suggesting to you that we go with Friesen Construction for this.
Any questions?
I just got a quick question. I came in late to this, I know, and I can tell you're all excited to approve this. But it mentioned in the contract it excluded septic upgrades, it excluded any extra paving beyond the construction site. Is any of that going to be necessary, or do you have are there other funds that have been allocated for any excess costs?
Yes, and Jody can speak to some of that. That is out of the scope of his work as far as actually building the structures and putting the plumbing in and doing all of that. But we do know the county, our plans are in the middle of getting county approval right now, but we already know that they're going to require septic upgrade, leaching upgrade, and tank upgrade. And so that's outside of what is here in this proposal, but those things are going to be necessary, yes. And so Jody, in regards to
The amounts are included in the total. We put 500,000 aside for two different projects. This amount is included in that, the additionals that are on the bottom. He's noting that I don't believe Friesen would even be bidding on most of those items on the bottom because he doesn't do that work. But we're waiting for the plans to be finally approved to see what precisely we do have to do there. But he can move forward on the construction part.
as those things are being
Once
done.
the plans for the construction itself.
Right.
And the leach fields and the septic can come separately, we would go with a different contractor on that.
Are you able to hear that, Bernie?
I did, that was great, thank you. I just, you've obviously, you're ready for the next step, so that, I just wasn't aware that you've already budgeted plenty of money, it sounds like, for any septic upgrades.
Those are good questions, Bernie.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And when he is starting, you said in the summer?
As soon as we get plans out of the county approved and stamped, yeah, he's cleared and ready to start early in June, as soon as we have students out.
Any other questions? Okay. I make a motion to approve the Friesen Construction contract for building additional bathrooms.
This is Mary, a motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Shelley.
Thank you, Chantal. Can we roll call this time?
Chantal. Lindsay. Aye. Bernie.
Aye.
Barry.
Aye.
Summer.
Aye.
Ian.
Aye.
Thank you.
Moving to item number 16, approval of WSCS employee handbook.
So this was also presented last meeting as an information item by Holly, who has done the work in pulling together an employee handbook, something that we should have had along the way. It contains lots of legally required important information for staff, and Holly's put this together. Thank you for that, Holly. She presented as an info item last time and is prepared for any questions you may have this time, but we are seeking approval so that we have it in hand, ready to provide to staff for the coming school year.
Thank you all for doing that. Any questions, if anybody had any based upon what they saw? Okay. Moving forward, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the WSCS employee handbook. Thank you, Jen.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Chantal. Lindsay.
Aye.
Bernie.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Summer.
Aye.
Ian.
Aye.
Moving on to item 17, approval memorandum of understanding with Yosemite Unified School District, info items.
Oh, sorry, no, you're right,
Right?
it's approved, you're right, approval for the,
Yes.
yes, the MOU, forgive me, sorry.
No, that's
about that.
okay.
Yep.
That's right.
So, you turn to that, what you have in front of you folks is, as it says on the agenda, a memorandum of understanding between Yosemite Unified and Western Sierra Charter Schools. As long as Glacier has, and Mount Home, as long as we've been chartered with Yosemite Unified, we've had some form of a memorandum of understanding that speaks to shared responsibilities, respective responsibilities, and duties. And so this is an updated version. You can see it's fairly substantial, 17 pages. One of the things that the change that really required looking at a new MOU was that Yosemite Unified has allowed Glacier students to participate with Yosemite High for CIF sports. Yes, and that's thanks to a lot of legwork done by Summer here, and really, really grateful, Bernie, to your board. Thank you for that, and to Brian Beck, superintendent, to be willing to see their way clear to allow our mountain area students to participate with Yosemite High kids. So that's really been great. So this memorandum of understanding speaks to a lot of that relationship, costs, shared costs and responsibilities within and how we operate with Yosemite. That's the big primary difference here.
Now, with this, is that something that we have to do every year?
It rolls forward without being addressed, but it's something that it's language is in here that we would revisit looking at it on an annual basis. But it does roll forward if we don't do anything. It carries forward in future years. And Brian Beck and his team drafted it up with their legal counsel and then provided us a draft document that we then ran through our legal counsel. They had very little, I mean, this is lawyer to lawyer, they speak the same language, they had little to change, and so Brian and I have met together a couple of different times, and we're both satisfied with what we have here. So once we have approval here, he'll take it to his board, Bernie will get to see it twice, and
That's exciting, I just have to say.
yeah,
Very exciting.
it's really great, yeah, really good.
My daughter loves it, so thank you, Bernie, very much.
Yeah, thank you guys. I think it's mutually beneficial. It's good for the kids. You guys compensate. We have people in our district who are concerned that we were using our facilities for non-district kids, but this addresses that. You guys compensate us for facilities use, so I think everybody's happy on our end as far as I know, so.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, Bernie, for the good of this board and for you, we have a long history working together with the district, and it's always been so positive and so really focused in the right areas. Like, hey, these are mountain kids. We want to. There's not as many. You don't have the same opportunities available in more of a rural setting, and just looking for ways to provide the opportunities that you can. And we appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, no, the feeling's mutual. So I know that it's been looked at in the past, and there were times, I think before I went on the board, where you had jealousy about kids who had left the district to go to homeschool, and maybe that's why it didn't happen sooner. But I know by the time I came on the board, we kind of all looked around and said, why are we not doing this? We can't see why we would. So, you know, so I'm glad it's happening. I'm glad it's happening, and I'm glad that your kids can participate, because the more the merrier, as far as I'm concerned.
So in the small mountain community, we need the more the merrier kids to come join Yosemite High School in sports, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so moving, anybody have any questions? In hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion to approve
the memorandum of understanding with charter school, understanding the Yosemite Unified School District.
Mrs. Chantel, I motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Mary, I second.
Okay. Roll call, Diane, please.
Chantel. Aye. Lindsay.
Aye.
Bernie.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Summer.
Aye.
Ian.
Aye.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 18 is information, approval of, not approval, sorry, of memorandum of understanding with Charter School Real Estate Holdings protocols.
So I'm gonna send over to Jody here in a moment. This, so this is an MOU information item at this meeting, potentially, item at our June meeting. This is a memorandum of understanding with this group, Grow Schools. Their whole business is financing, building acquisition for charter schools. That's their whole business model. And they have a pretty turnkey system. You may, if you were on board last year, at this meeting last year, a couple of their representatives were on a Zoom with us and they talked to us for about an hour about how this program works. And so we're still in pursuit of a building and we will not relent until we find the right home for Endeavor Charter School. And so that's what we're talking about. We're looking at ways of how we fund another building home for Endeavor Charter School. And so that's what this is about here. Anything you'd like to add, Jody? There's a reason we wanted to hold off because we really wanted to review the MOU more closely. We have some questions before we bring it to you for your approval. And so we're hoping that we get those questions answered positively so that we can come in June for your approval. But
Yeah, that's it. It's mostly clarification.
Yeah.
There's also another part to this, so we can understand a little bit better, because there's more than one document that we're gonna end up seeing. Number of charter school capital is the priority, and the Grow Charter School, Grow Schools.
right.
And we just want to make sure we're all understanding, when we present this to the board, the growth in the rate per year of the lease is, what specifically is that based on? How is that translated into a lease rate? I want to do a little more projecting of ADA to see if we can cover that. The great thing about this is we don't have upfront costs, and that will keep us.
So you get to hold on to cash,
We
right?
get to keep our cash, and then we just pay this lease over time. And so it goes 20 years, but it can be up to 40 years in total. The question is, how much does that cost us over time? I'm doing some projections on that and seeing, and I just want to make sure I'm understanding all the concepts that are in there. We're going to also run it by our legal counsel just to make sure, because there's a few questions just as to form of how the payments would be made, if that's even doable within our context. And if not, can we come up with an alternative way to do that? So I think we're 90% of the way there, but we didn't get this until Thursday. And so we really need a little more time to munch it over and think about it and ask a lot of questions. And then we'll bring it back in June. Probably I think it'll be positive. These guys are good. A lot of schools have used them. WSCS utilized it. The lawyer, our attorneys have also worked with them on arrangements like that. I don't see there that stop this, but I just want to make sure we understand this one. Awesome.
Thank you.
So is there a specific site? Like is this for a specific place?
No, this is would be an MOU that they're going to, what they would do is they become the buyer. And we're making this agreement with them. They're gonna buy the building that we wanna buy, and they're gonna do all the tenant improvements, and then they're gonna lease it to us over this time period. And they're gonna recoup their costs in that project over that time period. So it isn't site specific, it's an amount specific. We're ready to fund you $4.7 million. We'll find the building, and then we have our team that'll come in and do this. And so, yeah, that's how it works. On our behalf, we're still out looking for where that site might be. But this is not related, tied to just a specific site.
And the idea there was that we have a budget that, considering the funding determination and the current constraints on that, what could we afford over time? So I also have to do this, making sure that over time, with the budget going out 20 years, that all meets those criteria as well. So that's where the 4.7 comes into play. They're saying they believe that within the construct, this construct, that they stayed at 7% of our total expenditures for a property that's $4.8 million with this lease arrangement. So it looks like it's true. I agree, but it's just the question is how, I just want to see how the perspectives of that.
I appreciate you being conservative.
Yeah, because and hopefully the funding information will improve, but we can only, we can't hope for the best.
Yeah, this agreement expires on Friday.
Yeah, all the stuff that
They'll have to up that date. Yeah, what you have in front of you said that it's not signed by such a date that the terms of this don't. But,
Yeah, but.
it's relative when we're feeling good about being able to sign it.
Yeah, and they have certain, they're looking at the current market, and so they.
Right.
It could adjust.
Right.
They have to make it short
Right.
windows. This could change a little bit the next time we look at it.
Right. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Fox, and thank you, Jody. Okay, moving on to item 19, resolution. Approval of application for state disability insurance through the Employment Development Department.
And you should have the resolution in your packet. So we are not participants in the state disability program. And so this would bring Western Sierra Charter Schools into membership. It would apply to every employee. And the school organization incurs no cost at all. The cost is borne out by employee contribution, which is set at like 1% of their gross pay. And once they're in state disability, if an employee goes out for an extended period of time, this would be income replacement. Holly has taken the lead on this. You want to add anything to that, Holly?
From my understanding, traditionally, school districts elect just to enroll their classified employees, and we've made the decision to enroll everyone because we, of course, are not covered by a bargaining agreement, and we don't have any other option for short-term disability for our certificated employees. So that's why we are choosing to enroll all employees. It was also the recommendation of Haley.
Our attorneys also recommended.
So if a certificated employee who wanted those benefits, but we told them, sorry, it's only for classified, we avoid any type of problems.
Yeah,
Not offering the equal benefits to all of our employees, so we've just made the decision to enroll.
Thank you.
Yes.
And it has to be done by resolution. So what's the process of getting enrolled here?
So once we have the resolution, we will submit the application along with the resolution to EDD. Of course, it's a state program. I can't say how long the actual approval will take through the Employment Development Department. And once it is approved by EDD and we are enrolled, we will become part of the SCI program the first of the next quarter after our application has been submitted. Again, I don't know. I'm assuming if we get it submitted here by the end of the month, maybe Q3. And then once they're enrolled, I think employees have about a 7 to 9 month waiting period before they can submit a valid claim to EDD because they have to have enough base wages to have a valid claim.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you all. Now, do we do with the resolution? So do we vote on that, or is it more of just?
We have to do a roll
We
call.
have to take action, right?
Yeah, take action, it would be a roll call.
And Jody's put on here just, I'm assuming it's, Jody's on, just the yes and the no. Do we need board signatures on this resolution?
I think, didn't we?
We have in the past.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can.
So what I'd like to do, if you have a copy,
I do.
let's pass that.
I'll pass that around after the action.
For
Get
signatures.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll catch up with Bernie at some point.
Yeah, we'll catch him another. Right.
Okay. So,
Okay,
so we'll entertain a motion in a
Yes.
second and we'll.
yes. I would like to entertain a motion to approve the application for state disability insurance through the Employment Development Department. Is there, I would like to entertain a motion, I'm not sorry, is there a first? My coffee is not working anymore.
So moved, yeah.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Mrs. Chantel.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Sam.
Chantel, Lindsay,
Aye.
Bernie,
Aye.
Mary. Aye. Summer,
Aye.
Ian.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item number 20, information about artificial intelligence guidance document.
Give this to Diane and, Melissa Culver is going to present on that. Let me see if she's nearby. Be right back.
I'm just gonna send this around.
Okay.
Or you guys just sign under the, I'll put in the yes and no's, and just sign down in the list.
Oh,
Well, I'm supposed to find the store, it's nothing wrong, just right there. And sign it. Bernie?
Yes.
Would you be willing to stop by the school later this week and sign this? Would you have the availability to do that?
Yeah, are you open Friday? Oh, when you say the school, do you mean in Denver or do you mean up here?
I mean up there, sorry, up at Mount Home.
Yeah, no, I can do that. Friday would be best if you guys are here.
I'm there from 8 to 3, if you pop in, just ask for me and I'll push the document.
Yeah, let me make a note. I'll do that.
That's awesome, thank you.
Oh, she might be. Just
Melissa was here, did she go?
maybe she's thinking she's gonna join us from home. Let me give her a call. She can join the Zoom link, I think. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right, great. Okay. Just join the meeting. Okay, thank you. He's joining us right now.
Great.
Thank you.
Apologize for the delay.
Mike, do we have to add an address then, or does it, or Melissa, do we have to add an address to the minutes for her, or that's only if it's a board?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, like we have this address and the Oakhurst address, because that's where the meeting's happening, that's when we join in.
Oh, yes, thank you. That's board. That's a third
Only
board.
board.
Yes, thank you. I get it. Brown Act.
Sorry,
Yes.
I was not
No, she's-
communicating well.
No, you were doing fine. I was not interpreting well. We're good. Thanks. Yes.
I'm not sure. She is presenting from home, so. I think she's
I may have to send this around again. You may need to print your name next to your signature. There's some signatures. Send the signatures out. This one's size.
Do you want to stop?
Yeah, print your name next to your signature. So we know who you are. Oh, no, I got it.
She didn't expect you guys to get through it so quickly, the 20 items. So she was outside, so she started up her computer, so apologize. You've been very efficient.
I'm trying.
Here she is. She just joined.
Hi there.
All right. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, marvelous. Are you ready? Is now a good time for me to start?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Marvelous, yes. In order to develop the AI guidance, there was an 8-point model that I utilized in order to move through that process. The foundation of getting to the end point needed to start with research. And so Erin King and I spent over 6 hours of research utilizing documents that are used by other industry leaders as far as the influence of AI on education, society, where it's going, and those sorts of things. And those guiding principles laid the foundation for the skeletal policy to be constructed. And we knew going in that we would want feedback on that skeletal policy and that it wasn't going to be perfect at its initial point of construction. And then we moved on to stakeholder feedback, where we invited the voices of other teachers in our community to come in, and other leaders in our community. Both of our site administrators were involved in that process as well. And they provided shaping feedback as to how different aspects of that policy could be rewritten so that it was digestible, it was understandable, it made sense to the teachers, it wasn't excessively wordy. We wanted to drill down to those key points to make sure that the guidance was well constructed and it met our needs. And then from stakeholder feedback, we utilized that feedback in order to make the appropriate revisions to the document. In this time frame as well, I was able to conduct 8 teacher trainings. So I facilitated 2 different professional developments across both sites. So our elementary teachers had access to 2 trainings, and then our high school teachers also had access to 2 trainings as well. Because we want to make sure that we are adequately, we want to make sure that our teachers are adequately prepared for the influx of AI in the classroom as they feel more comfortable with it. And so we provided them an opportunity to provide their feedback. We provided them with instruction. How is this going to shape my syllabus? How is this going to shape my instruction? How is this going to shape the future of instruction as well? Taking all of this information into account, then it was reasonable for the next step to be the community town hall. We wanted to make sure that our parents were well informed about this pivot coming to the next school year. And we want to make sure that their voice is extraordinarily important in the context of this whole process, because they have the authoritative governance to say, no, thank you. I don't want my child to have access to this in the classroom, and we absolutely want to respect that. So their voice was included inside of that town hall. That places us here so that you, the board, have an opportunity to look over this and then make your recommendations. And then at the beginning of the school year, it is it's already on the calendar, and it's our plan to make sure that all of our high school students have access to probably about a 25-minute training during their high school orientation experience, so that they're familiar with the vocabulary, they understand various parts of the AI governance, so that we can support them moving forward. And it will also be an opportunity for them to ask questions as well. And then each of our teachers, when they open up their classes for the next school year in that context, they will provide additional scaffolding for the students so that it's an ongoing dialogue between the students and the teachers moving forward. Is there any more clarity that I can provide? Does anybody have any questions?
Give me one moment, Melissa. Thank you very much for doing your due diligence in this. I know it's a lot of information and research that you have to go through in order to get the right verbiage for this.
So this is on the agenda as an info item. We're not seeking approval of anything at this point, and expect that we may be back again with the board to interact more with this. The reality of artificial intelligence, I mean, it hit us like a wave this year, and our students are already using it, and we've had multiple, all three schools, multiple instances where students are bringing work to us that was AI generated off of ChatGPT, and holding that forth as their work. Sometimes not knowing whether they crossed the line or not, sometimes intentionally holding that the work was theirs, and clearly you did not write that 4-page essay, that was not your, and so it's out there, and we need to know how to, and we're not the only schools, obviously it's across the educational world. So we need to, as staff, know how to interact with it, how to find it, how to detect it, but then not just resist it. It's a tool that can be used to further educational pursuits. And that's really, I think, it's been helpful working with Melissa on this, because she's forward thinking like that, seeing it not only as the thing we gotta like somehow contain right now, but how do we actually learn to use it and manage it to be able to bring our students into productive use of it. And that's what this guidance begins to address. And again, as Melissa mentioned, if parents want to tell us that we don't want a teacher, we don't want our student in this class interacting with AI, so if there's an assignment where the teacher gives permission to use AI, we respectfully decline, and we will respect that decision. That's where, the parent is at, absolutely respect that decision. But meantime, we want to begin to help teachers and help provide the training for teachers to know how to interact with the AI potential in wise ways to lead their students in the use of it. Because if your child is in high school now, I guarantee by the time they're in college, they're going to be doing classes using AI. My son, who's second-year engineering student, uses AI regularly, and that's just part of the work. And so this is a beginning effort on the part of staff, led by Melissa and Aaron, to help us get rolling into getting our thinking around it as an educational institution.
I just want to say thank you again to Melissa and all the folks that worked on this. You'll see a lot of this guidance is a lot of more restrictive and like privacy, and like it's not as much about like how to best use. Like we felt like we needed to get that information out to students, and like the cautions, first, and then we are as a staff going to continue to figure out how do we use this and train our students. So we're kind of it's kind of like a first step in that realm.
Our desire in building this guidance is to help students understand the ethical practices behind using AI. Just like Mike said, students heading into college are going to be required to use this on various assignments. And then our students who are launching into tomorrow's workforce, some of those job environments are going to require their employees to use AI. And so if we use a punitive or restrictive method in this, we don't really scaffold well or provide our students the opportunity to explore, learn, and use it wisely. And so that was one of the background foundations behind building this guidance.
I do have a question in regards to their AI, like, let's just say they, because I looked at the prohibited uses of AI. I haven't read every single one of them as of yet, but I guess we can come to that too next board meeting when we have the approval, but was curious as to if they were to use a, non-school related computer and they decided to take information or picture or some sort to put onto their computer, onto their own, social media or so forth, or to do versus bullying or harassment or anything like that, is that that's not constituted underneath the school grounds, it's constituted as something privately,
Right,
correct?
so technology brings a lot of gray areas. Where does school jurisdiction begin and end? And before, internet-based technology, that was easier for schools to discern when is the student my responsibility and when are they not my responsibility. Well, when students are using, school technology products, Chromebooks, or on school internet accounts, or they're doing a school assignment that's cooperative and they're working with other students, but it's at home and not on a school day, that still ends up falling under a school jurisdiction for school responsibility. And so, but if a student has their own computer or their own phone and they interact with AI on their own time and it doesn't affect any of our other students, that's not.
But if it's with a Chromebook and they're using the Chromebook to do these things to bully another student,
That comes
that
under
goes through social media,
that's under a school jurisdiction.
And I would say, and I think what Mike's point was, even if they're using their own device, but it's affecting one of our students, we're going to be involved in it, like, bullying, whether it's happening on school grounds or not, like, there is that kind of gray area, but, right, is what you're saying?
Well, I mean, we can venture beyond the scope of what this is here, right? If students on their own devices, not on school time, and on social media accounts like Instagram or something, do something that's not right between each other, even though there are students, that's not us. That's just students on their devices having an issue between each other. That's not us.
Right.
If they're on our devices, then that's us. Or if we had some social platform where students were interacting and it was on that social, like a class, maybe has a Google class, and they're doing something bullying in a Google class that's our thing, then they're responsible to us for that. For school consequences, I mean, responsible to us just means, our consequences and discipline then come into play there.
I was just curious as to, you mentioned prohibited uses of AI, so I was just making sure that it was within the school Chromebook and so forth, and nothing else.
And so, as Melissa mentioned, this will be an iterative, I think, work in progress. We're only learning and getting our collective heads, that's probably totally not appropriate, to get ourselves around what this means, get our arms around this, and we're learning now, and as time goes forward, we're gonna be learning more about this whole new field of artificial intelligence, so, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa, very much. Anybody else have any other questions?
Thank you.
I do have a question. I see under the academic offenses, it's very specifically laid out. Above that, it says any of the behavioral expectations. Is there a list of consequences there? That seems. I'm looking right here for consequences, and I guess I'm thinking about, I think it's back up here if someone is harassing or bullying a student. It says it's prohibited, but what are the consequences there? Is that something we're gonna spell out? Is it just gonna be left? Kind of, it seems ambiguous to me what the consequences would be.
So behavior consequences are in the parent-student handbook. And so those will, if it's a behavior consequence, we'd be referencing that document. Does that answer the question?
So for instance, in our behavioral contract, we have a variety of different levels. Usually it will, depending on the severity of the situation, it could result in a non-compliance, it could result in, loss of privileges, it could be, there's a variety of things that are spelled out in our behavioral contract and in our handbook. And so we follow our normal procedures for consequences. AI is just another aspect of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's just like you have these kind of more behavior-based things, but then the consequences are for academic violations. So you're saying these more behavior-based
No,
violations.
both of them are listed. The first bullet is behavioral violations. The second one would be align the academic, cheating, fraud consequences. Because AI could be, the use of AI could be violated by two, right? Behavioral, but also by cheating, plagiarism.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay, gotcha.
What are the consequences for violating the behavior?
Behavioral side?
Yeah, that first
I
one.
see consequences for the
Yes,
academic
gotcha.
violations. I don't see consequences. I just.
So the very first bullet under consequences says violating may result in a non-compliance letter or termination of enrollment. And so that's the consequence.
That's the consequence.
Yeah.
Right.
So a non-compliance letter would be.
It would be often, exactly, it's often the case. So a regular seat-based school, they're heavy, their big stick is suspension.
Right.
We're removing the student from participation on the site for a period of time. Well, that, in our setting, that doesn't really mean too much. We already have sent them home. And so the non-compliance process ends up being, that's anything where a student does not live up to the expectations, that would be where we would say it's a non-compliance letter and it's kind of a 3-strike.
Oh, we get 3 of those.
Yeah.
And then you're out. The third non-compliance, you're out. Students who are on site, there are additions, there are some nuances and a little bit of flexibility. If we have a student who is, and it's beyond necessarily the AI question here, but if we have a student who is a behavior problem on site in an on-site class, for your edification, Bernie, as a school district board member, attendance on site is not how we take our attendance, and students are not compelled to be there. Those are all voluntary, and we have no responsibility as a school to provide on-site classes for students. That's not our attendance model. We're independent study. And so if all of our classes, the students need to live up to the expectations. If they don't, if there is bullying or if there is something that's, just naughty behavior, repeated naughty behavior, we can just remove them from the class. You're going to be removed for a period of time or maybe the rest of the semester. And yet we can continue with continuity with the independent study part, right? So they're still enrolled, we're still educating them, they still have access to what they need, but we're removing them from the place where the problem is. So that's another, and that probably would happen with a non-compliance letter at the same time.
I see, okay.
Right.
Any other questions?
Yeah, if the board ever wants to, that would be a great, discussion, if the board wants clarity, walk us through, how does all of that discipline work here? Because it is interesting in our setting, it's different in our setting than what the normal, seat-based, site-based program is.
Thank you, Melissa, for all your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, moving to item number 21 for reports. Executive Director's report, Mr. Cross.
Yes, so just for your information, dear board member friends, the Endeavor Charter School graduation, 8th grade promotion and 12th grade graduation is happening Wednesday, May 29th. And it is always wonderful to have board members be able to be there. If you are there, I will warn you that we will point you out and let folks know that these are our representatives on the board, but we'd love to have you be there. May 29th, and the location is at Fresno State, what?
Concert hall.
Concert hall, the concert hall at Fresno State. And, the 8th grade promotion is at what time?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock for the 8th grade promotion, 4 o'clock for the high school graduation. And, also, the Mountain Home and Glacier High School promotion and graduation are Friday, May 31st. That will be at Mountain Christian Center in Oakhurst. The 8th grade promotion for Mountain Home is at what time, Eric?
8th grade is at 10 o'clock at Mount Christian.
10 o'clock in the morning on Friday, May 31st for 8th grade promotion, and 4 o'clock in the afternoon for Glacier High School graduation at Mountain Christian Center. We'd love to see you there if you're able to come. Brian Beck, Superintendent of Yosemite Unified, is going to be the guest speaker for both high school portions of the graduation speaking. We always have some dignitary come speak to the students, and happily Brian has been willing to come and is excited to come talk to our kids. He'll give a short address, and it's always a very, very, if you've been to our promotions or graduations, they're very encouraging. People always love them. They're small, so we can be very personal and individual, and we really feel like we are able to honor the students in the accomplishment. So hope you can come and enjoy that. So moving from the high and the lovely graduation to the very mundane and daily, like we've been talking about, bathrooms. And so we're getting them, and we're pressing forward, and that's going to be exciting. I wrote that on my notes before I knew we were going to, well, I did have the freezing contract on there, so I should have anticipated that. But yeah, bathrooms coming for summer work. And in regards to the Endeavor building, we continue to look. Actually, there's another lead on a possible building that is on, Fresno. Fig Garden Loop, which is south of Herndon. It's in Fresno Unified boundaries, which it must be. Nice, seems like a nice area, kind of on the western side of Fresno.
Garden and Raleigh.
Yeah. It's unoccupied, never been occupied. It was completed in 2020. And there's 3 actual buildings there. One is 15,000 square feet, and the other 2 are over 6,000 square feet. Our current owner has found it and is talking to us about it. So it needs a lot of work. It's brand new, but it needs a lot of finishing out for us. And so it's just a lead. We're looking. I share this just so you know that we continue to actively look. Whether that would come into our affordability, we're working on knowing that, but it seemed like a neat area. And if it was affordable, could be a good option. So also found out that Bitwise buildings are now going to be all available. And those are all more downtown, but all of a sudden, I don't know if you know the saga of Bitwise without going into all that, but they're no longer in Fresno, and their buildings are now available. And so, yes. Right. Pardon?
Yeah, they have at least 3 buildings downtown.
There's one that looks like a beehive, that's
Right.
it's towards that.
Yes.
And there's other
Right.
buildings.
So, I mean, that's kind of out of that's still Fresno Unified, it's out of our current vibe of where we are as a school. But those are available buildings, and so we keep the antenna out. Any thoughts? Look like you might have a thought.
No.
No?
Hard to have council meeting, until there's an actual.
Right, sure. So we actually bring something.
Yeah, that would be great when it happens.
Yes, we keep looking, keep trying. That's it for me. That's it for me.
Okay.
Do you have to go? You can hand it anytime. If you need to go, you can go and I'll take it. Okay?
Okay.
So.
So, I have to leave, but I am going to hand over the baton
to Mr. Cox, and he will finish out the meeting.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks, Summer. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, Nancy, you all ready?
We have a lot of great things happening at Endeavor. As you can see, those of you that are in this room, we have brand new tables, and we also have installed cabinets and a chemical resistant working top in our science room. So I just have a quick neat video on how our tables work for those that are not at Endeavor. See if I can play it. These are our students using their tables. They fold up and then they roll to be put away.
Yeah, synchronized table folding.
Yes, they work really hard with 8th graders, 9th graders. Okay, so let me see if I can.
Just close.
Yeah. They're really neat tables. We love them. In the area of elementary, TK through 8th grade, the little ones have been studying the life cycles. And you can see here, I don't know why there's anything on the cover. Here we go. You can see them exploring the butterflies that they were able to see outside. I just love seeing their faces of amazement. And we've also been learning, they've also been learning about the chicken life cycle. And they started with incubating eggs that have hatched. You see the little chicks. And then we were lucky to have a family bring in the rooster for the students to see up close and feed. So we've had a lot of animals here on campus. That's why I added. Yes. This year, we actually were able to participate in Lego Robotics competition, April 27th, and 2 teams participated, and here we have a few pictures. These are just a few pictures of our local competition at YHS. And then the ROV team also just competed in the MATE ROV regional competition. So we see a picture here of Blue Blazes, who took 2nd place overall, Ecotech 2nd place overall in the Navigator division, and 1st place overall in the Navigator is also for PacTech. So here are pictures of those amazing teams. We're very proud of them. High school, we have Mrs. Turner's art classes, and she created a virtual art gallery. The link is in green, where you can see and enter a variety of places, and she was able to copy and paste their actual art. Like this is a painting, color, working with color theory, and so you can go ahead and close it, but just know that that's all available for you to see all the different art pieces. High school group from actually both campuses, Oakhurst and Endeavor, went to CSU Monterey and the aquarium. And Greg Hill, our guidance counselor, led 55 high school students to these tours. And so we've been averaging about 2 to 3 a year, and they just keep getting more and more popular, which is awesome to hear students say after these tours that they see themselves at these campuses, and their mindset shifts and their goals are higher. So we love having these experiences for them. We also have an Endeavor to Grow art exhibit in the East Building through the month of May. And so students have to submit their art pieces and teachers. And so it's there for display the rest of the month. Mrs. Turner led this, and Mrs. King. This is new to Endeavor. We are partnering with Aladdin Side to bring students, middle school students, to an elderly home. And here are a few pictures of our first meeting, and students have purpose, and some of them played music, some of them had conversations. It was an amazing, this is volunteers, so the students had to volunteer to do training and learn more about Alzheimer's and dementia, and
We love this that we piloted this year. We're gonna definitely continue this for middle school next school year. And we're looking at ways to bring our high schoolers to also do this. We see a lot of value, not only for the senior citizens there, but the students themselves felt motivated and a great time helping others. Just a couple of pictures. We had middle school students also go to the Fresno County Court, and there they are. They had a great time. Elementary went to the fish hatchery field trip. We've been doing this almost every year, and so it's always a great time. You learn a lot. We had our prom. There's some pictures. I had a great time. And these are some future events, as Mike mentioned, our 8th grade promotion and high school graduation are both May 29th, but so is our kinder graduation, same venue, and that's happening at 10 in the morning. The picture you see here below is of Jade. Her last name is Dansanovit. And she's one of the 6 winners from the California Digital Streaming Photography Contest. They're actually going to, that organization is coming to award Jade some prizes, and that is her winning photo. And then I'd like to show you one more thing, our spring showcase, which is our Got Talent show mixed with drama, happened in April. And so hopefully, not sure whether or not it's not playing or letting me. These are just some of the highlights. We had a variety of performances.
We tested this before.
I know, and it worked. It worked just fine, but it was just like music over the speed up. This is just like a 1-minute teaser of everything that happened. In case you missed it, here it is. The students are having a watch party next week. So that is that. I don't know why it didn't work. But any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, John.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm here at Mountain Homeschool in my office. No offense, Bernie. Just the sound is better in here. So let me share. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing Mountain Home and Glacier staff report.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know, this happened back in February, but I don't remember talking about it, but the Glacier High academic decathlon team won the county, and then they went on to the state competition. And so it's the 3rd year in a row that they've won that. So congratulations to them, and Mrs. Kelly, great job. Okay, so one of our students also won the California streaming competition, 6 students statewide. And so this is Hannah Ferris. And this is, so with their picture, they do some writing. So that's her poem. Now this is on the Mountain Homeschool Glacier, the Mountain Homeschool newsletter. If you'd like to take a closer look at it, read her poem, and then there's a link to see the other winners. And California Streaming, it's a digital educational resource here in California. So it's statewide. And then Susan Pinnell, the county librarian, is coming this Friday to present Hannah's gift. And so last year we had a kindergartner win this competition. And she came, actually, I think, I'm not sure if it was her, but a representative from the county came, and they won a very nice digital camera. So, so great job, Hannah. Yes. And then we had, we have a spelling bee here on site, and then we had those winners go to the regional at Riverbold Elementary. And Michael Nichols won for the 6th grade, so he run regionals. And Anthony Craig, who was in my Lego robotics class, so I got to see how smart he was in Lego robotics, won for 4th grade. And then we had a 1st grader place 2nd, Juniper Toronto. So congratulations to them. Then in April, Mrs. Meeks took 6 students to the Madera County Math Tournament, and they placed 2nd. And they were a young team, and it was a great experience for them. So thank you to Mrs. Meeks. And then at the end of April, we had Mrs. Dent put together a play and choir. So this is Mountain Homeschool students presenting a play. And then it was very entertaining and very funny. And then after they presented their play, and this was at Yosemite High School in their theater, which is a great venue. Then there was the choirs, Mountain Homeschool Choir sang several songs. And then Glacier High presented a play as well. And so it was great to see students. They'd been putting a lot of work into classes and preparing these plays and these songs, and then presented them. So thank you, Mrs. Dent, for working so hard with our students and bringing their talents out. So we had some other things happening. We had, this is also from the newsletter, so if you want to read it closely, we had 11 students participate in Peach Blossom at Fresno State, which is a oral interpretation competition. The students, they go there, they learn how to present poems, stories in small groups, large groups. This has been going on since the 50s. And so if you've grown up in the Valley, you might have done this, or you've had children do this. And so they learn how to be listeners and how to be a good audience, and then they're critiqued. And so there's a college professor and a Fresno State student that critiques them and gives them constructive feedback. And everyone who presented for Mountain Homeschool got the highest rating, a superior rating. So, and Mrs. Davis, we want to thank Mrs. Davis for doing this. And then, of course, ROV. These are just some pictures from the competition in Watsonville. And then I know Endeavor did fabulous at this competition. And then one of our teams won 2nd place for presentation. And we couldn't do it without parents and families. And there's the Crump family, Regina Crump, who's been working with Mr. Rumar, making ROV happen. And then Quentin Gonzalez won the scholarship. And so they weren't going to stay for presentations, and they said, "Oh, we'll stay." And then he won the scholarship award. And Mr. Hagan probably knows a lot more about that than I do, but just congratulations to Quentin Gonzalez. So there were other activities going on. We had in April and May, since I last saw you, we had cross country, roller skating, field trip, of course, the prom with Endeavor. Glacier High went kayaking, Catalina trip for the 8th graders. So Mr. Cox can probably tell you some stories about that. Then the Monterey trip, Mountain Homeschool went to the Horse Gold Rodeo Heritage Days, and then Wild About Reading at the Grizzly game. Things that are coming up, we have next Tuesday a trip up to Calvin Crest. We'll do some trails. I will teach a class. Mr. DeCarly will teach a class, and we'll have free time, climbing wall, archery, boats. And then, of course, with everyone, Island Water Park coming up on June 5th. Right now, we're doing testing. So a lot of state testing. It is the month, May is the month of testing. So we are getting our testing done. All the NWEA testing is done for the most part. And then we are right in them this week, especially. So we are doing a lot of testing. So that's what I came from all day testing to this meeting. So this is a lot what the teachers are kind of from a teacher's perspective, what we're doing, wrapping up. We're wrapping up our testing. We're having our final meetings with our families. We are collecting our last batch of work samples. So LP10 samples are due this Friday, and then that's it for work samples for the year. And then we'll be organizing our folders and making sure they just, a very high standard. And so when the auditors come, I think all those teachers take a lot of pride in our folders. And then also we do the audit where, another teacher looks over your stuff. So we're doing that right now. And then for the in June 6th is the last day. So for families and last day of school, and then for teachers it's June 7th. And that is my presentation. And if you want to see more things, you can go on, like I said, our newsletter. And if you have any questions, and if no questions, thank you for listening.
Thank you, John. All right, Eric.
Couple things from John's presentation. Thank you, John, for that. Actually, our scout team, Coral Incorporated, it was discovered later on they made a miscalculation on the scores, and they ended up getting first place overall in the scout. And Uncity Endeavor's first, they had a first place win, and then so they moved to second for scout.
We're not returning.
Ouch. But then they had also made a miscalculation. This is the first year I've seen somebody they also Endeavor's Navigator, they had a first place Navigator and a third place, and they realized just a couple days ago that third place actually got second place. And so all that to say, it's pretty amazing. Our little school, competing against all these other programs, got first and second in Scout, which is kind of the intro level, which is actually more competitive. There's like 25, 30 teams that compete at that level. And then Navigator, first and second from Endeavor, pretty amazing. And our Ranger team, which is our high school team, did very well. They didn't place in the top 3, but they did an amazing job also. So that was pretty amazing. And then both Nancy and John shared about the photo streaming. My kids, when they tried so many times to win that thing, they submitted so many things, and it's been amazing, because it's statewide, and they only picked 6 students in the entire state, and 2 of them are from our organization, which is...
For the first time last year, we won one of our kindergartners.
That was the very first time.
First time, and you get the photo montage on the poster, and it's somewhere in LA, Madeira. Amazing. And then this year to have both of our schools be represented is really.
And one of our teachers got honorable mention, Nancy Turner, our art teacher.
Wow. So that really is pretty cool, for sure.
Yeah, so that was pretty neat. So thank you, John, for presenting. I have a thing here at the end. I'll be sharing this out with it, but if you're like, wow, I just love Eric's presentation, here's.
Get the QR code.
Yeah, I'm a techie guy. All right, so John covered a lot of this. This is just kind of, I think a variety of things, the PE day, the roller skating, he covered, I think, all of these things very well. Yeah, I don't think there's anything that was left out, other than our leadership had a mock interview day. And we had representatives from the community businesses in the Mountain area come and interview our students. And Mrs. Friesen did an excellent job of preparing the students for those interviews. And I think some of the students got job offers, even though it was supposed to be, a mock,
happens every year.
It does. It's a great event for the students to have that, put together the resume, and then these businesses then they kind of give feedback to the students after the end of kind of what they noticed and some of the things, and overall they had a really good review on that. So thank you for that. This is kind of our final week of on-site classes for our students, and next week there's they're bright, we're testing and kind of wrapping up the year. Some upcoming events, I think we covered all of these. The grad night's coming up. We have a Grizzly game. We are having on May 28th with our with all of our students, we're doing like some testing in the morning, pizza, and yearbook signing, and the community awards presentation. So if you are around on May 28th, about 1 o'clock, or you can come a little early for some pizza. We'll have our senior community awards presentation and also our academic decathlon award event will be happening there. And I just kind of have some, we've done these PE days all year with the DeCarleys and Mrs. Heidelberg and Mrs. Crump kind of heading that up. Oh, and also Mrs. Dent and a lot of volunteers. These are just a few pictures from one of our PE days. But that was just a really fun activity for while we were doing our all-day staff meeting day. This was going on. Catalina, Mr. Cox was part of that. Here's just a few pictures from Catalina. I don't know if Mr. Cox has anything to say about his time in Catalina.
It's just a great, it's just a really cool thing because you have kids that are doing activities that they, for the most part, have never ever done. A lot of the kids here haven't spent a whole lot of time in the ocean. They've never snorkeled, they've never kayaked in the ocean, they've never dissected fish, and they get to do all of those things. It's very high interest and really cool. So yeah, it's always a great experience.
Mrs. Meeks and I have been planning this for like years, wanting to go roller skating because I worked at a roller skating rink in college, and Mrs. Meeks and her husband go regularly. So we're like, we want to do this. And they do a STEM program. So we got to do this. Endeavor has done it for the last couple of years. But pretty exciting event for us to do that. And just for me, just to actually get to spend time with kids and families and getting to know the families better. It was a fun event. Mentioned the biology kayaking. Our biology students got to go kayaking Elkhorn Slough. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it.
Slow.
We already saw some pictures of the prom. One of the fun things is I teach swing dancing, so there's some pictures of me teaching them how to do that. Just some fun event. I taught them how to do the pretzel this year. That was a lot of fun. Nick Tettleton did a great job of kind of just providing some oversight and security during the whole time.
He looks like a bouncer.
He does, doesn't he? A lot of the updates are still the same with the technology in terms of we've just kind of made a little further progress. We've settled on a cloud-based system that we're working on kind of doing the final of that. We've had our internet E-rate approved, so we will be increasing our speeds. We're waiting for final approval for our internal network. We already talked AI guidance. We have put in orders for additional Chromebooks, and we're doing a big replacement of a lot of our classroom Chromebooks. We have scheduled a Promethean board replace, and then a big, just giant project for both campuses with a phone update where we had to update our phone systems for both campuses. And there's a few little bugs we're working out, but it's definitely progressing. And then also I wanted to do kind of just some reflections, this, kind of finishing up this school year, it's just, transitioning to Oakhurst, big move, adjustment for both Nancy Garcia and myself. But I want a special thank you to Katie Kelly and Kim Meeks. When I'm gone, which has been a lot more than they were used to, just with various meetings and workshops and all the various things, Katie and Kim both stepped up quite a bit to just provide kind of administrative leadership and guidance when we were gone. And I just want to thank you. I want to thank the board for supporting me, and we have done a lot. I'm just reflecting on a lot of new staff, a lot of new positions, but I think it's really adding a lot to our program. Nick Tettleton, who's based here, but he also provides support for Oakhurst, and then Kelly Maples, who's been providing campus security. I feel like both campuses, I feel really like we've just taken leaps and bounds in terms of just supporting our students, and I think making people feel safe. Melissa Culver was with us last year, but she really stepped up this year because of my role being in Oakhurst. I couldn't do as much. And she really worked heavily to learn a lot of the things that I was doing, and also training Aaron Keang and Hunter Davis, who's our new tech person here, like just increasing our capacity in technology. We hired a new English teacher, Courtney Alves, who has done a great job, I think, of just really trying to, she just really has a heart for our students' well-being and our staff, and she's just really focused on that. Mike and Sandy, to Carly, if you don't remember, like we were a period of time where we didn't even have, we were missing a teacher, and all of our staff stepped up and took students on. Like, it's crazy that we remember that. And then we were like, we need a good teacher. And then we found this amazing retired couple that were willing to work together, and they have brought so much here. And then Polly, you've already seen all the things that she's been doing. Like, she's also just been, I think, a lot of support for my, like for me. I've just really appreciated her guidance and just dealing with very, you know, both hiring and HR and just having another like thought person to think through a lot of these different issues. So I just, you know, I've been reflecting on all this. Like, there's just been a lot that has happened this year. And a lot of it's been, you know, you as a board and, you know, Mike and Jody working out all the details to make this happen. I want to thank John Sloas just for representing our staff on the board and kind of being there and also reporting back to them. You know, the families up in Oakhurst and all the students and the staff, like I just have felt a lot of support, and I'm like, wow, there's so many cool things happening up at Oakhurst. But it's been a lot of work. The staff has just done so much to try to support our program. And I've asked a lot of them this year, and they've really stepped up. So that was kind of, I just was thinking about that and just wanted to reflect on that. So I think that's it for me. And if you really want to read that, there you go. Any questions?
Thank you, Eric.
Sure, thank you.
Very good. All right, excellent. Very good. Sounded like Eric's coup de grace. Are you coming back next year? Yeah. No. And now I take my bow. Great. Well, we are now at the end of the agenda. Thank you, everybody. Our next scheduled board meeting, the final board meeting on schedule for the year, is June 18 at 3 o'clock here at Endeavor. And can somebody move to adjourn the meeting?
So moved, Ian.
Thank you. Second? Thank you, Chantel. Very good. Thank you, everybody. Blessings to all. Thanks for scribing back there for us, Diane.
Sorry for the coughing.
Appreciate your work there. All right. Thank you, Bernie. Appreciate it.